Welcome to the Global Discussion, a discussion with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name's Simon Hodgkins. A pleasure to be joined today by Tiphany Kane. Tiphany, you're very welcome to the Global Discussion. Let's begin by asking you to introduce yourself, what you do, a little bit about your background, and I know you've got a huge, big, exciting project that we're going to talk about. So over to you, Tiphany. You're very welcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. Um, I'm 50 years old, so this introduction could be like forever. So I'll keep it very, very simple. I am the CEO and founder of a company called KaSa Media Productions, and we're currently under construction on a studio called Just 4 Feet Studio, which is a production and post-production facility specializing in Dolby Atmos. Which is immersive spatial audio, which we can talk about in the future. But I have an interesting story of how I got there. Um, Essentially, I was a teacher in the public school system for 20 years and spent the last part of my career in the district office training teachers. So I was a instructional design expert and worked with teachers in that sense. And was trying to move forward in my career, didn't get the job that I was going for. And I was kind of shocked. I was like the person most qualified for it, literally. Like I had the qualifications for it that nobody else in the district had. And I talked to my boss and I'm like, well, why didn't I get this? Because the person they gave it to didn't have my qualifications. And if she had said, you need more experience, you need some mentoring, you need this, that, like, okay, fine. But she said to me, Tiphany, you're just too passionate and not everybody can match your passion. And it can be intimidating to people. And I thought, wait, what? I asked her to repeat it. So I'm like, I don't think I'm hearing this. I'm in public education in a school district that's Title One. And Title One basically means these are low socioeconomic students, most of them children of, immigrants, they're language learners. Like these are kids that need somebody passionate, right? And I'm like, wait, like I didn't hear that correctly. And she repeated it. So I went home and had a shot of whiskey and was like, okay, I have a decision to make. I either become the person they want me to be, which means I dim my light, put a basket on my passion and basically become the yes person they want. Or after a 20-year career in an industry I absolutely love and adore, where I thought I was the luckiest person alive to be working in a job I loved, I say goodbye and I make a new path for myself. And that's what I decided to do. I decided to say goodbye because I just thought I can't be a yes person and kill a part of myself because it would be a part of myself would die. Um, And so I started a business. And at first it started just side gig. Really it started with starting a podcast because I'm like, I just got to get my voice out somehow. And then people noticed and were like, hey, your podcast is great. How are you doing this thing? And my partner was in audio his whole life. And so the two of us, like, we were just having a blast with this podcast. And people were like, hey, can you teach me how to do the thing? And so I was like, okay, let's go. And it just grew from there to where we built a community and kind of had a movement. And then our business just grew in ways we had never anticipated, to the point where I could quit my job. We went all in on this business and it was really exciting. And that was 3 years ago that I quit my job. And about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I was sitting down with my business manager, or like mentor, given her my 5-year business plan. And she's looking at it. She's like, okay, this is a good plan. It's good. This thing you want to do in 5 years, this opening a studio, is this going to make you money? Yeah, it's going to make great money. Is it something you're going to enjoy? Oh, totally. Do it now. And I'm like, okay, but we don't have the money for it. Like, we're a new company. How are we going to get loans? How are we going to do this? Like, what are we going to do? She's like, you're going to figure it out. Well, I'll help you. I'll put you in contacts with people, blah, blah, blah. And so it's been the last year of like figuring it out and literally building the airplane as we plummet. because we don't have a lot of money backing us, like I closed out retirement accounts, got a small business administration loan through the government, which is a brutal, brutal, brutal process. Um, and and we're building and it's happening. And I pinch myself every day because it's like this insane, audacious, ridiculous dream that's coming true. And if I seem kind of happy and excited, it's because it's like I'm living an insane dream, really. So
It's wonderful, and thank you so much indeed for sharing that with us, Tiffany. Because on one hand, you were kind of doing something that you loved, that you were passionate about, and then kind of being said that you're almost too passionate, which is a little strange, if I can offer that. But it's it's kind of that's also a big decision to leave a career or something that you love, that you've been in for a long time, and to do something completely new. But it is so refreshing to hear the excitement and the passion again when it comes to building not just a little itty bitty studio, but something really phenomenal in terms of what you're doing there, building the first Dolby Atmos studio, theatrical mix studio. And of course, that's going to, as your business mentor was saying, that's going to really help catapult the business of media productions, right? Because you're involved in audio and video. Am I right in saying that?
yes. Yeah. Yes, you are correct. So are you do you want to like get in the weeds and hear about the studio a little?
I
Okay.
want to know all about your studio, and
All
I'm
about
sure
it. All
people
about
watching and listening want to know all about it because this is a first for the area, and it's a big deal.
it is a big deal. Okay, and when we started talking about this, we're like, well, let's just do like a little space. Maybe we'll have one Dolby Atmos mixing room. We'll try it out. And we were looking at spaces that were under 2,000 square foot. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger looking. And so we ended up signing a lease for a 5,500 square foot space. And it's insane. I'm laughing as I'm saying this just because this process this year has been kind of ridiculous. Like if you told like I would nobody in their right mind would say, "Yes, please go out and do a $1 million plus project with no money in the bank and just figuring it out as you go along." Um, you know, that's insanity, but it's working. So anyway, we are in just south of Irvine. We're in Laguna Hills, and Irvine is a hub of AAA gaming, and there's, Newport Beach and like lots of high-end areas right around. And there's a lot of talent actors that live in this area that up until this point have had to go up to Los Angeles to record. And so we are going to be the only studio in Orange County that can do audio production. So we have 3 voiceover ADR rooms. And ADR is that when like there's many, many times in movies and TV shows when they need lines re-recorded after the scene has already been done, right? And so the actors just kind of go in a studio and re-record the lines. And if it's not done well, you can catch it. It's like it sounds a little off. The audio is a little off. So we're going to do the good kind where you can't tell. But so we've got 3 VO ADR rooms. We have 3 Dolby Atmos mixing stages. One of them is a theatrical stage. One of our Dolby Atmos rooms uh, doubles as a video color room. We have a live control room where we can control any of our VO booths and our main space from the live control room. We have a virtual production room, so it's almost 1,000 square feet of green screen and like open warehouse space to bring cameras in and all of that. And we can put, podcasts can be recorded here. Uh, Corporations can come do like their training sessions here. Voice actors, we can have an entire voice actor um, crew, like the whole cast in that room together. We run Unreal Engine, so we can put anybody anywhere. So very exciting. And then my favorite part, because I'm a teacher forever, is the front of our studio is 1,000 square foot community education and training space so that we can bring the community in. We're going to have internship programs. We're going to have monthly training for audio production and podcasting and audiobooks and like all of that kind of stuff for people to just learn how to do the thing. And really excited about that. And that room as well, we will have Dolby Atmos set up in there so that we can, on a larger scale, listen to Dolby Atmos. So that's in a nutshell. And then I'm going to softball something to you because I have a hilarious story of how we got our name Just 4 Feet Studio that has to do with these rooms.
Well, thank you, Tiffany. Do you know what? Just listening to you describing it, it just sounds, for people in the audio and video business, it sounds sublime. It sounds like a wonderful setup that you've been building there. And I know it takes money and time and effort and passion and belief and, dreaming a little bit and magic. It takes everything stirred in. But it sounds like you've got a real top tier, you know, um, studio. I mean, this is going to be top of the class. It doesn't get any better, and it is really encouraging to listen to you talking about it. And I love the community aspect of it as well, because it brings that whole teaching passion still into it, doesn't it? And being able to offer that and have that area where you can bring people in for those kind of discussions and teaching and community activities. I think that's such a wonderful endeavor. So let's get into the name a little bit. Come on, you've softballed me here. Let's
I
hear
softball.
about it. Come on.
So our company is KaSa Media Productions. We were just going to call it, KaSa Media Studios. And then we had this thing happen where we're looking at our space, we're setting up the rooms. My partner is very good at design. And so he's like designing the rooms and setting them up. And this is now a bigger space than we had originally planned for. And he's looking and he's like, okay, this room, we were going to have 3 Dolby Atmos rooms. And he's all, this room here, if we add just 4 feet to this room, we can have a Dolby theatrical space. And there's no Dolby theatrical space. Like there's very few in LA, very, very few. And, we'll be designated certified Dolby theatrical. That's a big deal. He's like, we can fit it in here. It's no problem. I'm all, just 4 feet. He's all, yeah, just 4 feet. Well, let's go for it. Oh my God, Simon, just 4 feet. Do you know what that did to our project? To be able to work in the Dolby theatrical space, you have to be TPN certified through the Motion Picture Association, which means Trusted Partner Network. And my binder to get certified is like a 5-inch binder of all of the requirements to be certified. We need 40 speakers in that room, somewhere between 35 and 40, depending on which speaker setup we go with. The mixing console itself is somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000. So that just 4 feet created an intense project, to say the least. And so we're like, that's it. It's just 4 feet studio. That's just what we've got to call it.
It's wonderful. I love it. Absolutely love it. And when you're describing the binder full of all the sort of terms and conditions that you have to go, you could almost prop up a truck with it and change a wheel, right? I mean,
Yes,
there's so much you've
literally.
got to do. And just 4 feet, it's magical. I love it. Now,
Literally.
you said something a moment ago when we were talking that I wanted to come back to, because you said, when you changed career, when you had that sort of pivotal moment, it all started from a podcast. Can you take me back to that?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. It's tiny little digression. I was raised in a really, really, really strict, high control, patriarchal religion. Some call it a cult. I'm not totally against that being called a cult. Like it was very high control. And I was raised to believe that my voice didn't matter because I was a woman. I was not allowed to pray out loud to God. I had to have a man pray. Like if I needed something said out loud, it had to be a man, even if it was a boy 12 or over. Like if a boy or 12 or over was in my presence, I couldn't pray. And being raised with the belief that your voice is not important because of, you know, your biological makeup, and that God doesn't see you as important is, you know, it gets into you, right? And so I kind of, even though I got out of the religion, it's hard to take that training out of the person. And so I spent a good amount of my life being the quiet girl, the good girl, the person who the yes person, the person who would do what was required and expected, shoulding all over myself, right? Like doing the shoulds, doing the shoulds. And over the years, as I found my place in the world, I started finding a little more of my voice. And it was really the podcast to me felt insanely audacious, insanely like somebody wants to hear what I have to say, like really. Um and doing it felt like a really radical act of you know, just breaking free of everything I'd been taught about who I was and what my place was in the world. And so I started this a little podcast just and I didn't really tell anybody about it. I was in a small entrepreneurial community and they knew about it and some of my closest friends. And I wasn't, you know, like, "Hey everybody, and I really need lots of downloads," and all of that. It was really just I kind of want to practice saying something. And it hit a chord with a lot of people, and like I said, people just started saying, "Well, can you teach me how to do this?" And I was like, "Okay, David, my partner, and well, would you wanna, like, help people do this?" He's like, "Sure." And so I'm like, "Okay, $25, and if you want it, like, we'll teach a full day class on it." And, we had, like, 40 people join, and then they're like, "Okay, this is great, we want more." And, they just people just kept asking for more, and so we started a community and a membership and all of that kinda stuff, and it grew, and to this day, there's still a part of me that's like, "I can't believe anybody wants to hear what I have to say." Um, I get very kind of embarrassed of, like, accolades and stuff like that, and my partner consistently reminds me, "No, what you have to say is important, get out there, do the thing." And it completely changed my life. Not the downloads, not the anything. It was literally the act of hitting record and then hitting publish. And that it changed the way I move in the world.
An
So
incredible story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Tiffany. I mean, how that transformation happened, you know, and how that podcast begun. And I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm going to say something as well, just for our audience, that you're not just a podcaster. I mean, you've won awards at podcasting. You also have an awards program. You know, I'm thinking of the Davy Awards, Raise Your Volume. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, just for people who may not be familiar with it, and the Sonic Bloom Awards. So, I mean, you know, I know you also sit with, you know, jurors and academies and, you know, things like that and visual arts. Could you tell us a bit about that? Because from that, dare I say it, humble beginning and that, I mean, a real moment for you personally, right? Thank you for sharing that. It really has branched into this phenomenal business and awards and everything that's come with it. So just take a moment and tell us a little bit about that side of things. Would you mind?
no, that's I mean, that's fun. That's the fun stuff, right? Yeah, I've won several awards as a podcaster and as a live event production. We won a gold medal communicator award for a live event we produced and Davy Award and several awards for the podcast production. So it was very I mean the first award, it was kind of like somebody said, "Hey, you should submit your podcast to this." I'm like, "Nah, no." And, you know, it was like $250 to submit. And who am I to submit my little podcast? Like, what? They're not gonna, whatever. And she really encouraged me to do it. So, okay, okay, okay. Like, let's do it. And we won. And we won two categories for that Davy Award, that first one. And I was like, wait, what? um, and it was rubric based, which I felt was really cool. So anybody who hit the metrics on the rubric got this award. And I thought, oh, that's really, really a cool way to do awards. And once I won that award, that the AIVA said, "Hey, do you want to come join our community?" And because you're award winner, so I did. And then they said, "We'd like to invite you to be a juror." So I became a juror and I got to see the awards process and how people were judged. I got to be a judge. And it was really, really fun. And I thought, I would love to open this up and make it more affordable and more accessible for more people, for independent podcasters, specifically female podcasters. Um, we are a minority of the podcasting community, both in hosting and in production. And I would like to elevate more of those voices. And so I got together with a friend and we created something called the Sonic Bloom Awards. And we had our first awards last year in January. And it was so exciting to be able to give awards out to women of color, women doing important work in less acknowledged spaces. You know, and our awards were not category based, you know, like best comedy, best whatever. It was impact on the community based, you know, and so we were able to give awards for people making an impact in the LGBTQIA community, in the differently abled community, in you know, just people who create support systems in the podcasting community. And so those were the types of awards we gave. And it was really exciting to see these women just so thrilled and so excited to be acknowledged for the work they were doing. And it had nothing to do with their downloads. It had to do with the way they show up in the community and the impact that they're making. And so I was co-founder and executive director of the Sonic Boom Podcast Awards. And it was really exciting. And we're going to do them every couple years. It's very intense to do these awards. And so we're not going to do it yearly, but it'll be every couple years. So we'll have the next one in 2026. And yeah.
Well, I loved, and I don't, I'm sure it was a joint effort and the other people working with you, but I gotta say, I loved the podcast categories or the
Mhm.
awards categories, I should say, for the Sonic Bloom Awards, because you have sort of the Icon Award and the Golden Mic Award. But then the things that I really liked were things like the Sweet Vibes Award, the
Mhm.
Helping Hand Award, and there was a couple of others that I just want to include here. Loved the Silky Smooth Award. Thought that was
Right.
great. And the other one that really resonated with me was the News Ninja Award. I thought that was very creative. So congratulations on a fantastic awards program. I've ran a few awards programs myself and created one or two along the way, and I know the amount of effort that goes in behind the scenes, even with the software and the tools. There's a lot of work goes into producing an award. So congratulations with that, and of course on your own award wins with the podcast and the show. Now, ultimately, I want to just ask you a little bit about coming back to that word passion again,
Mm.
because it's kind of featured a lot through our discussion here today. But ultimately, now, today, you're still very passionate about helping other people now, whether it's through writing, video, or other sort of creative mediums that you do. And I know you have a strong passion to support people in telling their stories. So you've kind of, gone from your own personal passion and the way that you operated to now helping other people to tell their stories, haven't you?
Yes. Yes. And I would love to say it's purely altruistic and I just want to help people, but it gives so much back to me to hear their stories, to see people succeed, to, I mean, just to go from being raised to think women's voices are lesser, to being able to say, you have these women go, wait, my stories are important. Women's stories are important. Our impact on the world is important. And to be able to have a small part in that is really powerful. And I just had a very dear friend pass away. And she became my friend through podcasting. I helped her launch her podcast, and we became amazing friends through the process. And I can definitely say my life is better because I got to meet her and I got to have a part in her process of telling her incredible story. And, even though I had a short time with her, I can't imagine I can't imagine life without having met her. And, we're keeping her podcast alive. We're paying the cost on her podcast for indefinite hosting so that people can hear her story because it's just so important and it's so amazing that she got to do 50 plus episodes before she passed away and tell so much of her story. And so, yeah, it's awesome to help people and it's awesome the impact it gives on your life, of how helping others makes your own life so much richer, um, and just so much more meaningful. And so, yeah, I think it's always going to be a really important part of my business plan is the community aspect and the helping others aspect and the making a difference. We have a short time on this earth. So what can we do with it and how do we make as much impact as possible? And that impact is, I mean, I love money as much as the next person does, but it's less about the money. It flows, it comes in, it comes out. It's more about what can you do with the resources you have to make as much difference as possible. And so that's, yeah, that's how
I love that, Tiffany, and you're definitely making an impact, that's for sure. But thank you for sharing that. Um, I want to ask you something else now. I want to talk about the roadmap ahead because at the time of recording, you've got a few little tweaks that you're doing with this new build, with this new studio and this new theatrical area and everything that's going into it. There's a lot of um, love, care, attention, planning, and cash, of course, going into this project.
ridiculous amounts of cash, yes.
So what does the next year look for you? What are you hoping to achieve over the next 6, 12, 18 months? What's on your roadmap? How are you thinking about the future now? Because you'll have this asset. I mean, it's there.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, yes, I've been in business, 3 plus years, but it's like opening a new business because it looks nothing like our business in the past. We've worked from a home studio and done our work from there. So now we're gonna have this home base and these actual, professional studios. So it is a whole new from the logistics and the management of booking jobs and finding clients. We've spent this last year really, really working hard to make connections, go to events, network, meet people, and it's coming to fruition so that by the time we open doors, which should be, I mean, we have a soft grand opening mid-November. And within the next 3 to 6 months, we should have our rooms fully built out. The purchasing the equipment is, that's a expensive time taking process because, you have to order the equipment and get it in and all of that kind of stuff. So it'll take a good 3 to 6 months to fully get the rooms equipped. Um, but in that time, we're going to be bringing people in. We already have several events planned for our community space. That's going to be our first space that's done. We're going to get at least one Dolby room done immediately in the next, 6 to 8 weeks. That room will be done so we can start that Dolby work. And then our virtual production room is going to be the next thing done. And then we'll work our way around. Our theatrical space will be the last because that is the most expensive room to build. And so once we've got some cash flow coming in, maybe another investor,
I've heard
then
a rumor that it's just 4 more feet, though. I mean,
that's the rumor I heard too.
yeah.
Just 4 feet. It's just 4 feet. Yeah, that room alone, oh my God. The money that room anyway. I just keep having to say, "It's gonna happen. It's gonna cut. We're gonna find the money." We've managed to find the money so far, like,
Yeah.
miraculously. I can't even tell you, like, one of our investors, we were just kinda telling them about the project, and they're like, "Well, are you looking for investors?" Sure." "Alright, how do I write a check?" And I was like, oh, okay. Like we hadn't even pitched. We hadn't even thought of that person as an investor, had no idea that person had money. It was like, okay. So it's kind of exciting in the sense that people are excited about the project alongside us and they're investing. So I'm giving a very long answer to your question. Short term, within the next 6 months, we have a fully functioning studio. And um, within the next year, we want to have at least within a 12-month time span, we want to have at least 10 um, in-person education events that also can be live streamed. So if people can't make it to the studio, they can also have that. So we're committing to education. We want to start an internship program within the next year. And we just, we want to fill the space. What I didn't tell you about before is we do have two ready rooms, like green rooms, ready rooms, so that our voice talent and directors and producers and such have a quiet space where they can relax and have their own little coffee maker and little mini fridge and makeup counter where they can just chill and be ready. And so we just really want this to be a space that people come in and it gets their creative juices going. They feel comfortable. They've got that mix of excitement and spaces to relax and chill out. And we want people to walk in and go like, wow, I want to be here. And so hopefully in the next year, we have lots of people going, wow, I want to be here. I want my project done here. I would be tickled pink to start doing work for the big movie theaters, with our TPN certification, we're gonna be able to do work for, Warner Brothers and Disney and Marvel and all of that. And so that would be a blast. And, if we can add to that award wall, maybe get an Emmy, I don't know. Um, we'd love to do that. So have some big dreams. I'm excited. Currently, my wardrobe is, workout clothes because we're in there doing construction alongside the contractor. I've got a good scar right here from the work. We did the demolition completely on our own, and then we are doing um, a lot of the small things that we don't need the contractor for. We're doing all of the acoustical treatments and all of that. And so I'm loving this part. I'm loving the dirty and grimy and getting in there. But I'm really excited about getting some new clothes that are a little bit more studio owner, like hip looking, and get out of the dust and just welcoming people into our space.
I like it a lot. I love that, Tiffany. And look, I have no doubt that people are going to be clamoring to get to your door because what you're building there is something exceptional and really needed in that area too. So, it will be the premium destination and the only destination for some of the activities that you've described. Um, Look, before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you, is there anything that we haven't touched on or any parting thoughts you want to share with anybody who's thinking of either, getting into a podcast or doing a little bit of video or maybe even struggling with that as an initial starting point, or anything that you think would be of interest to our worldwide audience here today? Any parting thoughts?
I think my biggest is do the thing. Like, stop telling yourself that nobody wants to hear you or see you. If it's writing a blog, write the blog. If it's starting a podcast, start the podcast. If it's starting a vlog, a YouTube channel, get it started. Get it started messy, get it started ugly. It doesn't matter. The very act of just getting started is going to open doors for you, especially if you keep yourself open to that. And you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. Oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, this is, and if you're just very open to, I mean, this is going to sound a little mystical woo woo, but like the opportunity fairies will come visit. And it's either you shut the door in their face or you're like, hey, come in, have a cup of tea with me. What do you got for me? Let's see, and so like invite them in, bring them in and just go for it. Everybody has an interesting story, an interesting take. Everybody's life is important and valid, and there is someone out there that can learn from you. and be inspired by you, whether you make them laugh, whether you inspire them to make the next business move, or whether you inspire them to just go on for one more day because life is really hard for them. And your voice, whether it's in writing, in audio, in video, your voice is the thing that kept them going for one more day. Like, that's important. It has nothing to do with your downloads, with the money you're going to make from it. It has everything to do with the impact and that you're important. And that, to me, if everybody could just see that, like, I think the world would be a different place.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of people on as guests who produce film and very successful films, whether it's been for some of the world's biggest streaming platforms or independent films. And in terms of people watching and listening to this episode, we focus very heavily on creatives and leaders and thinkers. And for anybody who wants to connect with you, find out more about the work that you're doing, your business that you have, and this wonderful studio that you're building, where's the best place to point people to? Is it a website? Is it LinkedIn? Where do you want to send people to?
I think LinkedIn is fun because you can message people. So that's great. I'm Tiphany Kane, TiphanyKane. So that's really fun. Um, I am a recent adopter of LinkedIn. I didn't love it before, and I'm now really enjoying it. I think it's a really fun place for people to connect. You and I connected on LinkedIn, which is really cool. So yeah, find me on LinkedIn and message me and let's connect. Let me know you heard about me on Simon's podcast and let's chat. I think that's a really fun way to do it. I do have a website and all of that good stuff, but that's not very personal. Like, you don't get to actually talk to somebody. So
That's perfect, Tiffany. Well, look, that brings us nicely to the end of our time together today here on the Global Discussion. I want to thank everybody who's watching, listening to this show around the world. We certainly do appreciate it. Follow, like, subscribe. Do everything I need to do to help support the show. Go and check out everything that Tiffany is involved in. Get in contact with her on LinkedIn if you're interested in this space. And I hope you'll join me back here for some more discussions with creatives and leaders and thinkers just like Tiffany. But it's lovely to talk to you again today, Tiffany. Thanks very much for being a guest on the show.
thank you. It's been a pleasure.